And like that, we're live. All right. Well, welcome to anyone who's tuning in. Comments are open, so feel free to chat along as we talk here with Carmen Collins of Cisco. Welcome, Carmen. Thanks for joining us.
Welcome. As you can tell, I'm ready for the holidays. Happy holidays, everybody.
Looking festive. Yeah. And last time we tried to do this, you were a lot of pounding going on your roof. You got the roof
I
installed.
had roofers. And then today I have storms because I live in Florida and that's what happens in December here. So
that's
we're just crossing our fingers that 2020 is going to
not
ruin
like
us.
the storms we're getting here in the Northeast. A little different. All right, Carmen Collins is Cisco's senior social media and talent brand manager, where she manages the award-winning We Are Cisco social team and strategy. She was named Stevie's 2017 Communicator of the Year and also a 2017 Top Woman in PR and the 2016 Social Media Professional of the Year by PR News. She has presented at a few digital summits with us, I believe, this year, right? I know the May event was one, and then you spoke at October.
I spoke in October,
All
and
right.
I spoke at one last week. So
yeah,
I love Digital Summit.
Right. Yeah, you weren't on my stage with the cool kids, but that's all right. We won't hold it against you. So, yeah, it's always you're always one of our highest rated speakers. Everyone loves what you're doing at Cisco. So, tell us a little bit about Cisco in your role there for people who don't know.
Well, I have a really interesting role. I'm the marketer that sits in the HR team. We do not sit in the marketing organization. I report up to, we call HR people and communities. And I have a team that operates kind of like an internal agency within people and communities. And we focus on not only our employer brand, and that means how we talk externally to get candidates to come and explore career opportunities at Cisco, but also our employee brand, because in order to talk about our culture and how cool we are as a place to work, we use our employees and their employee-generated content to tell that story. So we also focus on employee brand and also the brand of our people and communities organization. So that's what I do. I started life as a journalist. I'm a writer, fell into social media when it became a thing. As a matter of fact, I remember when we called it communities, we didn't even call it social media. So right. I don't know if I'm aging myself right now. I'm really young, I swear. But so I've been doing this for a long time and I'm just passionate about it and excited to I have an amazing team of folks and they're award winning. So pretty proud of them.
So I wasn't aware, and I probably should have seen this in your background, the journalism background. I myself have a journalism background, and in a couple, one of our speakers we had a few episodes ago in the spotlight, we had Jen Capstraw of Women of Email, who also has a broadcast journalism background. And I feel like there's a lot of us journalism majors or former journalists that have stumbled into either marketing or specifically like digital, et cetera, as a career. Why do you think that is? Just curious.
I think writing is the key to all of digital marketing. If you're not a good writer, you might as well hang it up. I went to the University of Virginia and I was really honored that they asked me to do a piece in one of their digital publications about how a liberal arts education can actually get you a job. Because, when you're in college and you're not an engineering major or a math major, an econ major, right? You're like, what are you going to do with your life?
Specifically content for the parents of incoming freshmen who are like, why are you studying this? What are your career aspects,
I got asked that question so many times. What are you going to do with that, mate? I had two majors. I had a history major and a communication. What are you going to do with that? And at the time I didn't know, but I knew I liked writing. And so I started in journalism and realized I didn't want to work nights and weekends because I was a sports writer. I was the only sports writer that was a woman at the time. This was before women were, NFL commentators.
Yeah.
So fell into, writing work in companies and then agencies and ended up here.
Yeah.
I love it.
I myself started off I wanted to go into the sports writing part of it and covering high school football games and have to be a photographer and write the story and stuff. I'm like, I don't think this is what my dad envisioned for my life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So next thing you know, I was working in a bank and in marketing. But enough about me. Let's hear about what are the exciting things you have going on at Cisco. Like, tell us more about the decision behind running like the We Are Cisco handle and why that is important to the overall company strategy.
Well, no matter what technology you're driving, and by the way, I just have to give a shout out to Cisco because this is Cisco, the IT company, not Cisco, the food company, and not Cisco, the wrapper, just so we're all clear.
Thanks for pointing that out.
And you're probably watching this this live via Cisco technology. We're powering the internet that's allowing everybody to go work from home because it's 2020. But it doesn't matter what your technology is. The technology doesn't change the world. It's the people behind the technology that change the world. And that's why I love what I do and what my team gets to do. And that's the purpose of the We Are Cisco social media accounts, is to show people what it's like to work at Cisco. We use employee generated content. Our employees are our influencers. So I don't really think I do much marketing. I do a lot of amplifying that just happens to help us in our marketing efforts. But we have two things we say. First of all, our motto is "Be you with us," because we know that if people can see themselves represented, and especially with diverse talent like women in tech and connected Black professionals, if you can see yourself there, you trust that source, you trust the person who's living it as your source of information. And I had a really good thought and it totally went out of my mind. Employees as influencers. Oh, and then if you see it, you can be it. So again, really focusing on making sure that someone like you is represented on the channels that we use to talk about working at Cisco. And we've had a lot of success doing that.
And how do you measure success?
We use the funnel. Everything is yes, everything is driven on the funnel. We are very metrics oriented and very business impact oriented. And I usually tell people, if you don't set goals, how do you know if you're successful? And so we set very specific goals at the end of each fiscal year and at the end of each calendar year, because we measure, fiscal and calendar year success. Yeah. And we set on our funnel, we have attention, consideration, and action. So are we driving awareness? Are we getting people to engage with our content? And are we driving to the business outcomes we want? And then everything is foundationally built on advocacy. So we use the funnel. And we have some great metric slides that we present to our senior leadership. And I use them sometimes when I speak at conferences. And that's how we've seen great success. And we had... I'm sorry. You set the goals annually, but are you guys disciplined in looking at those and refreshing those quarterly, or are they pretty much we live in our metrics. We use a metrics provider called Conviva, and they have really in-depth metrics. And they actually just told us that while the majority of brands are seeing a decrease in reach on Instagram stories, we're one of the few brands that is seeing an increase in reach. And they reached out and said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, we're using employee content." I don't know. So we're seeing a lot of success.
And so we've had some discussion on, I think it was part of your talk, and we even have an article on our site around it, but are hashtags still important? And why Go ahead.
And why? That's the rest of the question.
Yeah. Are they important, and why use them?
Hashtags are the most misunderstood part of social media marketing. They've been around for almost 15 years now, and we still don't get them. I don't know why they're hard, but the way I explain it to people is you think of a hashtag like a party. And I'm going to use a 1980s John Hughes reference, right? When you're sweet 16 candles.
I'm an 80s child.
Yeah, there you go. 80s is the best. And, it was Friday night and the head cheerleader and the football star were throwing a party. You didn't want to be the geeky nerd starting your own part or having your own party that night because everybody was going to the cool kids party. And I know I'm using a cultural trope and I get it. I'm just doing it for effect. But that's what a hashtag is. A hashtag is a party. And you want to get your content in front of the people who are at that party talking about what you want to talk about, because they may or may not be following you. So yes, hashtags are still important, but you have to understand how to use them and how to get the best results from them. Different channels use them different ways. I'm not a big fan of hashtags on Facebook. They kind of annoy me. Facebook in general annoys me, but I think they're really still key on Twitter and Instagram, and even it's becoming so on LinkedIn. I haven't figured out exactly how I like hashtags on Instagram yet. I mean, or on LinkedIn yet, but yeah, they're still valuable.
Yeah, when there's a good hashtag out there like DS at home when we have our events,
DS at home.
It's a good way to organize content, right?
Exactly.
I like that you call it a party, because there ain't no party like a hashtag party.
Well, especially right now when we are all separate, but that's how we come together. And yeah, I think they're still key to your strategy and should be a part of it.
Awesome. The Cisco company blog, pretty active. As far as like you guys post a lot of new content stuff. How's that going? Can you talk about that a bit, or do you have a role with the blog?
Yeah, so Cisco as a whole has a blogging platform, and the We Are Cisco team has the We Are Cisco blog. So if you went to blogs.cisco.com/We Are Cisco, we have employee authored posts. We usually have 2 a week. Sometimes we have 4 a week. Sometimes we have 1 a week because we're heading into the holidays and we know that people are kind of checked out. And so we don't want to overwhelm them with content. But Casey Szymanski on my team, she's our editor-in-chief of that blog. I actually gave birth to the blog many, many years ago. And when I became lead for the team, I had to give up some of the things I loved. But Casey has taken it and really made it shine. And she has crazy bounce rates. Like, people stay and read the content. And the thing that's really special about it is, again, it's an employee writing the stories. We like to say it's their story, our help, because a lot of people think I don't have a story, or when they find out they have a story, well, I'm not a writer. So we just help them get their voice heard. But
so your blog is like all grown up now, leaving the.
It is. It's now a probably teenager and blog years.
So let's say you've moved on from the blog, like, and I know you've done some things with like Snapchat and TikTok. Like, what can others learn about some of the experiences you've had with that, like and how much of what launching the blog helped you kind of experiment with those other channels?
Yeah, and we call our employee generated content strategy the circle of goodness. And it has served us in so many ways that we never imagined it would. When we started this team 6 years ago, we said, yeah, this is the right strategy, but we didn't think through what would happen, what new social media channels would come to be, that a pandemic would happen in 2020. And we call it the circle of goodness because it just keeps giving. For example, a lot of people had trouble in the spring with shifting their content strategy because we were in the middle of a new pandemic and we had lots of social justice protests, and it was hard to figure out how do you shift and adjust your old content to this new world. And because our content came from employees, when their lives changed, our content changed with it because we use what they post and what they say. So it keeps giving. It's this circle of goodness. But each time a new channel or a new challenge has come to the team, falling back on this idea of employees as influencers and ambassadors has really served us well. This year, things I never thought I would ever say, we ran a TikTok pilot. It was the perfect storm. If you told me a year ago, I would tell people that I would be talking about TikTok, I would have laughed you out of the room. But the pandemic made TikTok more of a thing. I don't know if our viewers went down the TikTok rabbit hole when the pandemic started, but it was a way to, let some of the steam off about lockdown and being in our house.
Why do you call it a rabbit? Why do you call it a rabbit hole? Is that just?
Oh, it's addictive. There's so many. It's kind of Inception. There are so many TikToks that talk about how addictive TikTok is. But it is a vortex of going down the content hole.
And they do a good job of, like, it's almost like this, the model that Amazon started where, like, okay, if you buy this item, we know you like this item. And then Netflix got pretty good at, hey, if you like these movies, you like this. And TikTok knows, like, the types of TikToks. So we had Carlos Gill on, right? Last week at the summit. Carlos gave a talk about TikTok and was kind of using this example of, you think it's for kids. He's like, there's adult content, and not adult content, but things.
Well, there's that too, but yeah.
You can watch it if you want. I'm not condoning it, but it hones in on what you like, and it's just going to show you those things.
Yes, and then you go and watch The Social Dilemma on Netflix and be like, it's a little too good. It's a little too good." But
Right.
what was special about our TikTok pilot is we used employee ambassadors, and we also had our interns who, are a big audience. Yes, they're now, millennials and Gen X's and even some grandmas and grandpas I've seen on TikTok. But, at the time, the main audience was your Gen Z and Gen Y folks, and our interns were virtual. And we had to find a way to make this internship fun for them, like it would be if they were in person. And so it was this perfect storm of coming together, and we used our interns, and we had some employee ambassadors as well who gave advice to the interns and interacted with them on TikTok. And so that's what we mean by circle of goodness. Every time we have a new challenge, we can rely on our employee ambassadors to help us shine. And it's really
circle of goodness. Circle of Goodness. We're talking with Carmen Collins. She's Cisco's senior social media and talent brand manager. We're talking about the We Are Cisco channel and how they're using social media in their organization for branding, is I guess what we would call it, and really awareness and as they recruit people to come work for Cisco. This has been great, and we know that again, your talks have been with Digital Summit have been very popular. But we'll shift gears a little bit. I'd love to talk about your book.
My book. Which one?
The list.
My old book
on paper. Is that the new one, or do you have one after that? That's the new one, right?
No, I am. Well, I have The List. It's a romantic comedy. It's on Amazon, and I self-published that. Oh golly, a long time ago. I can't remember what year it came out. And I have a book almost finished. It's been almost finished for about 4 years now, so I need to get on that. But I'm also working with a friend of mine. We're co-authoring a book about empathy and empathy as a skill for technical talent. So stay tuned for that later.
So you've got a book you've been working on for 4 years. It's almost done, and you're already starting the next one with your friend.
Yes, with my colleague Andrea, and yes, on empathy as a skill for technical talent. It's a really interesting topic and very apt. I have this. The reason I got involved in this project was because as social media folks, and I'm going to speak on this at Digital Summit at Home in January. So teaser, social media influencers have been talking about authenticity and making authentic content since before it was a thing. And here we are 15 years later, and we're still talking about it, and we're still having challenges with it. And I think it's because it's the wrong word. Authenticity just means you're being real. And, when thought leaders talk about it, and I've been talking about it forever myself, when we talk about it, the idea is that it's connecting with people on a human level. But when you just say create authentic content, we think we're doing it as marketers, but our followers in social and our consumers are like, yeah, no, you're not getting it. So there's a gap. There's something missing. And empathy is the way we fill that gap. And especially people talk about empathy as stepping into someone else's shoes, which is to me a false metaphor, because you can't be in somebody. It's impossible. There's no way you will ever be in someone else's shoes. The idea of empathy is to walk alongside of someone in their shoes and in your shoes, so that you start to understand each other and have a shared experience, which is what social media content is supposed to be. And so I think it's really applicable to empathy, but also, to social media, but our book focuses on this as a technical skill. If you've seen The Social Dilemma, which I mentioned on Netflix, engineers and software folks have pretty much gotten to the point of, oh crap, what have we done? We've created the TikToks and the Facebooks and the Googles and the algorithm and the facial recognition, and have we done the right thing ethically? And you'll see a lot of people starting centers for ethical technology and these foundations to take a look at it. But empathy is the way that we get through that muddied waters. So
I find that interesting. And I guess a follow-up question I would have is, do you see that big generational differences? And I ask that from a standpoint of, you mentioned like the millennials before, which in my opinion get way, way, way too much of our attention, but they have grown up with technology and the generation behind them knows nothing else. That's all they know is technology. And so are we seeing big differences in the generations from an empathetic scale standpoint that technology has influenced?
I think so. If you look at the research, empathy has declined in general. I don't think our current political situation helps. One of the
taught people to be mean.
Well, social media, again, when you have this sort of shield between, you're not right in front of somebody, so you're going to be you're more free to say what you might not say to somebody's face. But I don't think it's a millennial thing. I think it's an everybody thing. You know, we're so consumed by technology and the always on and the instant gratification. And I saw something recently in my study for this book about empathy. And, you know, we think of the US as red and blue. You're either red or you're blue. Right. But if you look at a map of the United States, it's just shades of purple. And that's, again, what empathy is, right? And as a society, we've divided so much. And if we can think of ourselves with some empathy and even have empathy for ourselves, we can make a shift. And I think it's not generational. I think it's everybody everywhere.
Interesting. And I've worked with a lot of developers. And so, I mean, you're talking about technology and stuff too, and that's a whole kind of culture on its own and stuff too. Do you think there's maybe something with empathy, and I'm not picking on developers per se. My question
is pick on them. That's what our book is.
You know, we see things around like, you know, kids having burner accounts, and to your point about social, and you can kind of hide behind an avatar. And developers, I've worked with developers, a lot of them, they just want to be heads down and code. Do you think there's something about locking yourself into that sort of virtual environment that starts to erode at empathy?
Well, I don't even think it's necessarily the virtual environment. I feel like, especially with developers and people who code, and this is what our book is about, we've got this cultural narrative since the beginning of time that developers are antisocial basement dwellers, right? Like, they don't want to be around people. They don't want to have anything to do with people. And that's not the case. They're human. They have the same human reactions that everybody else does. Yeah. And we dismissed empathy as something you either have or you don't. And it's actually a skill you can learn. And if software developers and coders learn this skill, they can solve bigger challenges. Like, we all want to, when you come to work every day, you want to work on something that has impact and value. And, you know, when we're solving the world's technology problems, if we can add empathy into the code that then gets delivered to the people like me who don't code, you know we build a better thing at the end.
I love it. I love it. That's exciting. I can't wait for your book to come out.
This got way far away from social media, didn't it?
No. That's what these spotlights are. This is about you. This is not just about what you do. This is about you. So I gotta ask, did you ever make the trip to the Galapagos to see the blue-footed booby?
So the reason you're asking me this is, I think, because I have this funny story about how you can, once again, we're going back to the social dilemma, and you can argue whether technology companies are listening to you, but my dream trip has always been to go to the Galapagos and to see the blue-footed booby bird, because he has blue feet. And I read a story by a photographer that says the birds there really aren't scared because they're not around people. And so this blue bird came up and looked in her. I just want to get that picture because I'm an amateur photographer. And I don't normally speak about it to anybody outside of my husband. And I said something to my team one day, and the next day I looked and I had an ad for a Galapagos trip on my Instagram feed. I'm like, you're listening? I know you're listening. So no, I haven't gotten there yet. 2020 has put a crimp in my traveling. I was supposed to be on a plane to Germany today to see the Christmas markets, but alas, I'm here only getting the notifications on my phone and not actually boarding the plane. But it is still on my list. It's still on my dream destinations list.
Well, this is definitely not Germany, and I'm not German. I'm very disappointed.
And you're not. This is the only Christmas we have right here.
This is fantastic. Hey, I really enjoyed the conversation. Thanks for being such a great speaker for us for the Digital Summit. Excited to see you coming up in January at the free event, where we're going to have many of our top-rated speakers just giving lightning talks about very specific and fun topics. So for anybody that's interested, that's a free event. If you've never been to one of our digital summits, that's why this one's a free event, because we want you to really check it out. And we feel like the team's been rocking these virtual events because we bring great speakers to the table like Carmen. So thanks again for joining us.
I've been to many this year, and I can say that, this is I think that Digital Summit has done a great job of still making it feel like a community. I know we're all getting really tired of being on video calls. I hope, I work for Cisco, so I hope they're WebEx calls that you're on. But, we're all tired of being on video. I think, the new lingo is around, you're on mute, and is my video on? And, I'm on double mute or whatever is happening. But I think Digital Summit has done a great job of being together. And into January, I'll be talking about empathy in social media specifically to give you tips on how to make your content more empathetic. So
going to be great. We're looking forward to it. Thanks again for joining us.
Thank you for having me.